Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. We love to get deep in the weeds here. So today we're diving into all things XRP, and we're really going to be focusing on you and your interest in XRP's price potential.
Yeah.
So we're taking a look at this in-depth Portuguese analysis.
Okay.
And the title translates to XRP price prediction in 2025. Detailed analysis. So
Buckle up.
yeah, strap in because it looks like it could be a wild few years for XRP.
Absolutely. This analysis really dives into it all. It doesn't hold back, everything from that SEC lawsuit to the potential for an XRP ETF.
Right.
Even jumps into some technical analysis, trying to figure out where XRP might land by December 2025.
Okay, so let's just address the elephant in the room right away. Let's talk about the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit.
Yeah.
The analysis really seems to think that this is like the single biggest thing that's going to influence XRP's future.
I would agree.
So can you unpack that a little bit? Why is this case so crucial?
It really comes down to this regulatory clarity, or lack thereof.
Okay.
Right now, the SEC is saying XRP is a security, right? And that puts it under a whole different set of rules and regulations than other cryptocurrencies. And, if Ripple loses this thing, it could really limit XRP's use cases, and obviously that's going to spit in investors.
So it's not even just about Ripple, the country. It's about the future of XRP, the crypto, as a whole.
Absolutely. This case could really set a precedent for how all cryptos are regulated moving forward. That's why everybody's watching this case so closely.
The analysis actually mentions that John Deaton, who's a lawyer and has been pretty vocal in his support of Ripple, he thinks that the SEC might actually lose.
Interesting.
So, what would the implications of that be if Ripple were to win this case?
Huge victory. Obviously it would be a huge victory for Ripple, but I think for the entire crypto industry as a whole, it would really signal that the U.S. is open to innovation in the digital asset space. I think we could see a huge surge in investment and adoption, and that obviously could potentially drive up the price of XRP. Who knows how much?
But what if they lose? What are the things that they're afraid of? What specific regulations could come into play that would hinder XRP?
Yeah, if the SEC wins this thing, it could mean, who knows, it could limit how XRP is traded, who can invest in it.
Okay.
Even how Ripple itself operates.
Wow.
Think about strict reporting requirements, limitations on trading platforms. There could be fines, penalties.
Right.
It would definitely create a very unfavorable environment for XRP to succeed.
So it sounds like the stakes are incredibly high.
Absolutely.
This case could really send XRP, skyrocketing, or it could really hold it back.
Yeah, make or break moment for XRP, probably for the entire crypto landscape, to be honest.
All right, well, let's shift gears for a second. Let's talk about something a little more positive.
Yeah.
The possibility of an XRP ETF.
Right.
So the analysis specifically mentions some filings from companies like Rex Shares. So first of all, what is the significance of an ETF, and why is everybody so excited about this possibility?
So think of an ETF like a basket of assets that you can invest in, through traditional stock exchanges.
Okay.
It makes it much easier for big institutional investors like hedge funds, pension funds, to get exposure to crypto without having to deal with directly owning and managing it.
Got it.
So really all about accessibility, opening up XRP to this whole new wave of big investors.
So more people would have access to it.
Exactly.
Which would mean potentially,
more demand.
More demand.
Exactly.
Which would mean hopefully a higher price.
That's the hope. An XRP ETF would really be a major sign of mainstream acceptance for crypto as a whole.
Sure.
I think that could lead to a huge influx of money into the XRP market.
That makes sense, but wouldn't it also bring more regulation and oversight?
Oh, absolutely. ETFs are heavily regulated.
Okay.
Which, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing.
Could.
On one hand, it adds legitimacy, adds a sense of security for investors.
Right.
On the other hand, it limits some of that flexibility and that decentralization that a lot of crypto enthusiasts really value.
So it's like a trade-off?
It is a trade-off.
But a trade-off that a lot of people seem to be willing to make.
Willing to make, yeah, for that increased adoption and hopefully for those higher prices.
So we've got the SEC lawsuit, we've got this ETF possibility. Those seem like two really huge factors in the future of XRP.
For sure.
But beyond those two kind of looming giants, what else does the analysis highlight as something that could influence XRP's price in the coming years?
Well, one key factor is Ripple's existing global network. They've already partnered with hundreds of financial institutions.
Really?
In over 80 markets, using XRP to facilitate cross-border payments. So it's not just talk, they're actually putting it to work.
So they're building that foundation for real-world utility.
Exactly, and that real-world adoption is huge.
Yeah.
For long-term growth, the more businesses and banks that use XRP, the higher the demand's going to be.
Right.
Which, again, could lead to a higher price.
Okay, that's encouraging, but the analysis also mentions these token unlocks.
Yes.
Which sounds a little bit more ominous. Can you break that down for us? What is a token unlock and why should we care?
So these are predetermined events where a big chunk of XRP is released from escrow into circulation.
Okay.
And the analysis specifically mentions a potential unlock of 1 billion XRP.
Wow.
These events can temporarily increase the supply of XRP, which could lead to a dip in price.
So more XRP available, potentially lower price for a little while at least. But how significant are these dips? I mean, do they always happen, or can the market kind of absorb those unlocks without much disruption?
It's really hard to say,
Okay.
Depends on the market conditions at the time of the unlock.
Okay.
If demand for XRP is high, the market might just absorb that extra supply without batting an eye.
Right.
But if demand is low, it could lead to a more noticeable price drop. It's hard to say.
So it's not just about how much XRP is unlocked, it's also about the overall market sentiment and the demand at that time?
Absolutely. Trying to predict the impact of a token unlock, you really have to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
The whole market dynamics.
Okay, so we've got regulations, we've got ETFs, real-world adoption, we've got these token unlock events, all these things potentially playing a role in XRP's future. So how does the analysis actually make sense of all this and try to predict a price? How do they go about doing that?
So they use a bunch of different tools. First they look at technical analysis, so they're studying the price charts, they're looking for patterns, trying to anticipate future price movements.
Right.
And the analysis highlights a specific pattern called a symmetrical triangle that XRP is currently trading within.
Okay, a symmetrical triangle. Paint a picture for me. What does that look like? I'm imagining like a pyramid in my head.
Haha, not quite a pyramid.
Okay.
Think of it like two converging trend lines, forming a triangle shape. It suggests that the price is consolidating.
Okay.
Like it's getting ready for a big move one way or the other.
So a period of uncertainty.
Yeah.
But with the potential for a big breakout.
Exactly, either up or down.
Okay.
And the analysis, it points out that if SRP breaks above a certain price level, about $2.56,
okay,
it could signal a bullish breakout. It could go to like $3.63.
Okay.
But if it falls below $1.96, it could find support around $1.40, So those are some key levels to watch.
Yeah, why is it symmetrical triangle significant? I mean, does it typically lean towards a breakout in a certain direction? Like, are they more likely to break out up and down or vice versa?
So generally, symmetrical triangles are considered neutral patterns.
Okay.
They don't have a bias towards up or down, really.
Okay.
It's all about just being prepared for a big move.
So less about predicting the direction,
right,
more about just getting ready for a potential price swing.
Absolutely.
Got it.
And of course, they use other indicators, technical indicators like RSI, MACD, which measure momentum.
Sure. And trend strength. Right. And those are actually looking pretty good for XRP right now, potentially hinting at an upward bias. So charts, patterns, indicators, all those things are kind of pointing towards some exciting price action.
Yeah, it could be.
But it sounds like that's just one piece of the puzzle.
Right. It's all about putting those pieces together to paint a complete picture, and the analysis doesn't stop there.
Okay.
They also try to do some number crunching using kind of a simplified supply and demand formula to see, okay, what are some possible price points?
So what does the formula tell us?
Well, basically it says the price of XRP, right, is determined by the total market cap divided by the circulating supply.
Okay.
And they use an example where if the market cap of XRP reaches $200 billion, which is higher than it is now, obviously it's at like $157 billion, the price could reach something like $3.46 per XRP.
So even a small change in market cap could have a big impact on the price.
Huge. Absolutely. That's what it highlights.
Got it.
The relationship between market sentiment, demand, and price.
All right, so taking all of this into account, we've got the SEC lawsuit, the ETF, real-world adoption, token unlocks, all this technical analysis, market cap calculations.
It's a lot.
It is. It's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
What does the analysis ultimately predict for XRP's price by December 2025?
Okay, so they lay out 3 potential predictions.
Okay.
An optimistic one, a neutral one, and a pessimistic one.
Okay, let's start with optimistic. Let's dream big for a second. What does the future hold for SRP if everything goes right?
Everything goes right. Best case scenario.
Yeah.
The SEC case resolves in Ripple's favor. The ETF gets approved. Adoption explodes globally. And the whole crypto market is just booming.
It's a bull market all the way.
It's a party. In that scenario, XRP could reach anywhere from $5 to $11 by December 2025.
Wow, that's a big jump.
It is. It is.
And what are the main things that could push XRP towards that upper range, that $11 mark? I mean, is it solely dependent on all of those things happening?
I think it's a combination of factors,
Okay.
ETF approval alone, that could bring in a ton of money, potentially add like $3 to $5 to the price.
Wow.
And a win against the SEC, a solid, decisive win,
right,
would remove that roadblock and could push XRP past its all-time high,
okay,
which is $3.40.
okay.
And then, of course, widespread adoption, big institutions that would just fuel the rally even more.
I'm starting to see why people are excited about the potential of XRP. But of course, this is just one scenario, and it could play out very differently, right?
Oh, yeah. Got to be realistic.
Yeah.
Got to temper that enthusiasm.
All right, so we've got sunshine and rainbows, but let's go to the middle ground now. What does a more neutral prediction look like for XRP in 2025?
So the neutral scenario kind of assumes a less dramatic, but still positive, trajectory for XRP.
Okay.
Let's say the SEC case ends in some sort of partial settlement.
Okay.
Maybe some concessions on both sides.
Right.
Ripple continues to expand its partnerships, but, steady pace.
Okay.
And the crypto market experiences moderate growth, culture.
So no huge wins, but no huge losses either.
Right, exactly.
Just kind of steady as she goes.
Yeah, in that scenario, the analysis predicts XRP could be trading between 3.50 cents and $5 by December 2025.
Okay, so not as explosive as the optimistic.
No.
But still, not bad.
Still a decent return, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a more balanced outlook. Maybe even a little bit more realistic, potentially.
Yeah, I think so.
But we got to talk about the flip side, right?
Yeah.
What does the analysis say is the worst case scenario, the pessimistic outlook for XRP?
This is where those risks that we talked about earlier, they really start to rear their ugly heads,
Okay.
Imagine the SEC just doubles down, triples down on their scrutiny of crypto. It creates this really hostile regulatory environment in the U.S.
Right.
And those big token unlocks we talked about, they flood the market and start driving the price down. Institutional investors get spooked. Nobody wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole because of the regulatory uncertainty.
So it's like a crypto winter specifically for XRP.
Yeah, not a pretty picture, no. And in this scenario, the analysis says, XRP might really struggle.
Okay.
To hold its value could even drop to $1.80 to $2.50 by December 2025.
Wow. Okay, so that is a pretty significant drop from where it is now.
Yeah.
So, really looking at a potential range from modest gains to potentially some pretty substantial losses.
It's a wide range.
Really highlights just how volatile this market is.
Absolutely it does. And, it's just a reminder that any investment in crypto, especially, a younger asset like XRP,
right,
it comes with risks.
Not for the faint of heart.
No, definitely not.
But even with those risks, the potential upside is really hard to ignore. It seems like the analysis is laying out a spectrum of possibilities.
Yeah.
And the actual outcome is probably going to fall somewhere in between these three scenarios.
Right. It's all about understanding that range of outcomes,
right,
weighing the risks and rewards.
Yeah.
And making decisions based on your own personal goals and risk tolerance.
Okay, so we've got those three scenarios, and they're all driven by these different factors, but the analysis goes even deeper, right? It brings in some outside voices, some other perspectives.
Yeah, they mentioned some other analysts.
Right, specifically it talks about price predictions from two crypto analysts, Egreg Crypto and Dark Defender. So can you tell us a little bit more about their approaches and what they're predicting for XRP?
Sure, so Egreg Crypto, they seem to be taking the long view. They're looking at XRP's potential to disrupt the global financial system.
Okay.
They're predicting a short-term target of $13.
Okay.
But their long-term prediction is a whopping $110.
Wow, $110.
Yeah.
That's a level of optimism that I haven't even...
It's bold.
Yeah, so what do you think is driving that prediction? Are they really just banking on mainstream adoption and integration into the financial system to reach a number that high?
It's hard to say without diving deep into their methodology.
Right.
But it probably involves, assuming a pretty massive growth in both adoption and real-world utility.
Okay.
Imagine XRP becomes the currency for cross-border payments, settlements between banks, even microtransactions within the Internet of Things.
So they're not just thinking about it as a payment system. They're thinking about it like a whole building block of a new digital economy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, it sounds a little far-fetched now.
It does.
But I guess anything is possible, right?
Who knows? This space is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Things that seem impossible today might be totally normal in a couple of years. Who knows?
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget about the big picture.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what about Dark Defender? Do they share that same bullish outlook?
Dark Defender is a little bit more grounded, a little more cautious, I'd say.
Okay.
They focus more on technical analysis, market cycles, that kind of thing.
Okay.
They see XRP reaching somewhere between 5.75 and 85 and 8.36 cents.
Okay.
Based on patterns they're seeing in the historical price data?
So still optimistic, but maybe with a little bit more data to back it up.
A little bit more data-driven, yeah.
It's interesting to see how two analysts can look at the same I guess, set of information and arrive at very different conclusions.
Different approaches, yeah.
It just shows how complex this market really is.
It really is.
Okay, so we've got the upsides, we've got the downsides, we've got experts making bold predictions.
Yep.
But like the analysis mentions, nothing's risk-free, right? So let's talk about the risk factors.
Got to talk about risk.
Yeah. What are some of the key risk factors associated with XRP that our listeners really need to be aware of?
Well, first and foremost, we've talked about it a lot, that regulatory uncertainty, that FEC case, who knows? It could drag on for years. Even if Ripple wins, other countries could come up with their own regulations.
Oh, right.
And that uncertainty, it can really make investors nervous.
Makes sense.
So even if XRP has the tech, even if it's got the partnerships,
it could all be for nothing.
It could be held back, by regulations.
Wow. Okay, so besides regulation, are there any other potential threats to XRP kind of dominating that cross-border payment space?
Always got to worry about competition, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We mentioned Stellar, XLM, similar functionality, but the real challenge, I think, could come from central bank digital currencies, CBDCs.
CBDC, remind us what those are again?
So basically, imagine a digital version of your country's currency.
Okay.
Issued and backed by the central bank.
Right.
A lot of countries are looking into these, even running pilot programs with them.
Interesting.
If they gain traction, they could offer, a more regulated and centralized alternative to cryptos like XRP.
So even if XRP takes off in the private sector, it could still face competition from government-backed digital currencies.
It's possible. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Okay, so we've got regulatory uncertainty, we've got competition from both the private sector and potentially from governments?
Right.
Anything else our listeners should be wary of?
One more thing, XRP's correlation with Bitcoin.
Ah, right, the big dog.
The big dog, exactly. Bitcoin,
sets the tone.
It often sets the tone for the whole market.
Yeah.
If Bitcoin crashes, XRP is probably going down with it, no matter how good its fundamentals look.
Even if everything is going right for XRP specifically, it could still get caught up in a broader crypto market downturn.
It happens.
Just because Bitcoin's having a bad day.
It's a risk, for sure. Diversification is key in crypto and, in any investment portfolio.
Okay, so we've talked about the good, the bad, the expert opinions, all the risk factors.
A lot of information.
Yeah, a lot to process.
Definitely a lot to think about.
But I think we've given our listeners a pretty good foundation for evaluating XRP and its potential trajectory.
I think so. It's been a good discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I have one final thought before we move on.
Okay.
This analysis focuses on 2025, but what about the longer term?
Yeah.
What about the next 5 to 10 years? What factors might shape XRP's destiny over that kind of time horizon?
That's a great question, and I think that's a perfect segue into the final part of our deep dive, so let's get into it.
Okay, so we're back and we're ready to really stretch our imaginations here.
Yeah.
We've talked about, all the potential up and downs XRP might face in the next few years.
Right.
But what about the really long term? What could XRP look like in, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
That's where things get really interesting. We're moving from forecasting to really speculating.
Okay, yeah.
Thinking about the big trends that could shape XRP's future. It's exciting.
All right, so let's put on our futurist hats for a minute.
Yeah.
What are some of the big forces at play here? What should our listeners be paying attention to?
I think one of the biggest things is, how the global financial system is evolving.
Okay.
We're seeing this shift towards digital currencies, faster payment systems, and this growing need for interoperability between all these different financial networks,
So it's not just about being a better payment system, it's about being a part of this bigger transformation.
Exactly. And if XRP can position itself as a key player in this new landscape, the potential is huge.
Okay.
Imagine a world where you can just seamlessly transfer value across borders between different currencies, even between traditional finance and DeFi, the whole thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty radical shift, but is XRP really equipped to handle all that? We've talked about competition, stellar CBDCs.
Right.
How can they stay ahead of the curve when there's so much going on?
Well, it really comes down to adaptation and innovation.
Okay.
Ripple, the company behind XRP, they've got a pretty good track record of building partnerships, finding new use cases, responding to what the market wants.
Right.
They're going to have to keep pushing the boundaries if they want to stay on top.
So it's not just about the technology, it's also about the team behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
And their ability to navigate this really fast-changing world.
Yeah, for sure. And the regulatory landscape is huge too,
Yeah, for sure.
Will governments embrace crypto or try to shut it down?
Right. We've seen how much of an impact that SEC lawsuit has had. It seems like regulation could either make or break XRP.
Totally. It's one of the biggest unknowns,
Yeah.
If governments create clear, consistent regulations that are, friendly to innovation, It could be huge for adoption.
Right.
But if they take a really harsh approach, it could really hurt XRP's progress.
It sounds like there's a lot of uncertainty when we start looking this far into the future.
There is a lot of ifs and maybes.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
The future of XRP, the future of crypto in general, it's still being written.
Yeah, it's a good point. We're not just talking about like investment predictions. We're talking about like a potential paradigm shift
Totally.
in how we think about money, how we interact with money.
Absolutely. And XRP, with its speed, its scalability, all those partnerships it's built, it could really play a big part in that.
It could, but it's got its work cut out for it, right? Like you said, competition, regulation, the crypto market in general, it can all be pretty unpredictable.
For sure. Got to be aware of the risks.
Yeah. So what's the big takeaway for our listeners here? What should they be thinking about as they're considering, the future of XRP?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed, stay curious, and be ready to adapt.
Yeah.
Crypto changes fast. What's true today might not be true tomorrow.
So don't just blindly follow predictions. Do your research. Stay up to date.
Exactly.
Be ready for anything.
Yeah, the future of XRP, the future of finance, it's full of possibilities.
And that's exciting.
It is.
All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've gone from, analyzing XRP's price potential in 2025 to thinking about the big picture, what could happen in the next decade.
It's been a good conversation. I hope it's given our listeners something to think about.
I'm sure it has, and I have a feeling this isn't the last time we'll be talking about XRP.
Oh, definitely not. This story's just getting started.
Well, that brings us to the end of our XRP deep dive.
Sad to see it go.
I know, but hopefully you've enjoyed this exploration of, possibilities, uncertainties, all the excitement around this crypto.
As always, do your own research, stay informed, keep an open mind as the world of crypto keeps evolving.
Yeah, great advice, and until next time, stay curious.